the feeling of having victory in hand. Looking at Xiao Yin, whose gaze had become vacant, Feng Hao teased. "It's a bit early to say that," he said after a moment, as the dark liquid once again gathered. The black-patterned sacred robe took shape behind Xiao Yin like a cloak, exuding an imposing aura, as if it were the supreme ruler of the dark realm, overlooking all life. The robe radiated boundless dark power, filled with malevolence, causing a tremor deep within one's soul. "Then let me show you what a true 8-star Docian is like. Thunder, come." Looking at Xiao Yan's dazzling smile, Feng Hao swung his arm. Suddenly, the ground in the heart of the desert began to violently shift. Thunderbolts, like serpents of lightning, surged around his body, embracing him as if he were a true judge, gazing at Xiao Yin. Any movement from Xiao Yin would immediately lead to his final judgment. Being watched by such a powerful figure, and with the terrifying fluctuations spreading, Xiao Yin felt a wave of unease within him. However, thanks to the protection of the black-patterned sacred robe, the effect on Xiao Yin was minimal. "Once again, we're at this juncture. I remember the last time a girl sacrificed herself for me." Xiao Yin touched his chest through the black-patterned sacred robe, his voice calm and rare, carrying a trace of contentment. Strangely, the sacred flame heart, transformed by Mu Yingying, did not fluctuate violently. Instead, it remained serene, like a quiet wife who supports and encourages her husband without hesitation, regardless of his actions. "Do you believe I will succeed?" After a moment, Xiao Yin muttered to himself, not concerned with the dazzling attacks Feng Hao was preparing. "Vroom, vroom." At this moment, his heart beat fiercely, responding vigorously to Xiao Yin, as though conveying her unwavering support and trust. "It's a pleasure to meet you. But before I revive you, I won't die. So, let's begin." In the blink of an eye, Xiao Yan's pupils became deep, and a burst of confidence from the very depths of his soul erupted, as if he were a god. "What is this guy doing?" Feng Hao, naturally preparing an extremely powerful attack, grew cautious when he saw Xiao Yan's strange behavior. There was no other reason but the fact that Xiao Yin possessed so many sacred flames within him, and he had been singled out by the master of ferocious souls for special caution. This alone made Feng Hao take no chances. Thunder Nether Soul Seal. Seeing Xiao Yin stand still in the desert, exuding a strange aura, Feng Hao did not hesitate. Silver lightning, like a setting sun, attached to his palm, and immediately a massive white net appeared, densely covering his surroundings. Razor-sharp claws emerged from the thunderous white net, and the screech of thunder reverberated across the sky. Such a terrifying attack would surely leave Xiao Yin gravely injured, if not dead. "If you want me to see a true 8-star Docian, then as a reward, let me show you what a true master of sacred flames looks like. Fire, come." A voice containing frantic energy pierced the sky, scattering across the desert. "What's going on?" A dense and intense flame is slowly emerging. Seeing this, Feng Hao's expression tightened, and he did not rush to attack, keeping his eyes fixed on Xiao Yin. With the black-patterned sacred robe in place, Xiao Yan's Do Qi had reached the early stage of 8-star Docian. His deep-colored pupils focused on Feng Hao. He could sense the apocalyptic power hidden within the thunderous net and claws surrounding Feng Hao. After a while, Xiao Yin suddenly made a decision. His long, pale hands slowly stretched out from beneath the black-patterned sacred robe. "What is this guy doing?" The Black Fiend Dragon Wolf, though capable of handling 2 8-star Docian, was evenly matched with them. Seeing Xiao Yan's strange movements, it could not help but express its surprise. Xiao Yan's hands, which looked as delicate as those of an ordinary woman, held no obvious strength. However, this strange movement caused the powerful beings present to sense something was terribly wrong. Fireheart Heavenly Rock. Sacred Flame Crystal. Ignoring Feng Hao's hesitation, Xiao Yin spoke firmly. "If you want to see, then watch closely." As his words fell, yellowish flames like spirits danced on his left and right hands. A rhomboid sacred flame crystal, brimming with unparalleled divine power, appeared. As the yellow flames emerged, a heavy, intense feeling pervaded the desert, and the very air seemed to burn with a surreal quality. Sacred flame. Feng Hao, watching Xiao Yan's actions, couldn't help but lick his dry lips. Sacred flame was the supreme treasure of the great Thousand Worlds. If they won this battle, Feng Hao would possess a sacred flame. The mere thought of it made him grin wickedly. So, Fireheart Heavenly Rock merge? Ignoring everyone else, Xiao Yan, at this moment, was like a soul immersed in his own world. He slowly fused the earthy yellow flame with the sacred flame crystal. At that moment, the power of sacred flame erupted in full force, revealing its true might. Ghost-faced soul flame, come forth. Without any hesitation, his hands shook, and the roaring earthy yellow flames, like a ferocious beast, instantly detached from his palms and formed before Xiao Yan. In an instant, the azure flames and the sacred flame crystal surged once again. Impossible! It's actually ghost-faced soul flame? Seeing the azure flames and the azure sacred flame crystal in Xiao Yan's hands, Feng Hao's expression turned greedy. The attraction of ghost-faced soul flame to them was undoubtedly stronger than many other things. Merge! With a cold grunt, the azure flames and sacred flame crystal fused once more, then floated around Xiao Yan. But the power that surged from them made even Feng Hao's expression shift. Undying fire! Without hesitation, his face solemn, gray flames and the sacred flame crystal appeared again and fused in the same manner, then surrounded Xiao Yan. The fusion of the sacred flame and sacred flame crystal was when the sacred flame achieved its strongest form. Now, the earthy yellow, azure, and gray flames transformed into 3 giant fire beasts, each 100 feet tall, shaking violently around Xiao Yan. The invisible power they released caused the very space to warp, as if it could be completely burned into nothingness at any moment. 3 sacred flames. I have to say, you're the strongest person I've ever seen, but unfortunately, it's all over. Seeing Xiao Yan in such a dominant form, Feng Hao no longer dared to be careless. The brilliant Thunder Giant Web and Thunder Giant Claws became even more dazzling, faintly emanating an extremely powerful and intense aura. Huff, not enough. Watching the sacred aura bursting from the 3 sacred flames, Xiao Yan roared once more. Gulu! As Xiao Yan roared, blue liquid slowly flowed out from his heart, eventually transforming into a group of rapidly burning and trembling blue fire beasts, spinning swiftly around Xiao Yan. However, the sacred flame crystal of the blue sacred flame was stored away by Xiao Yan, as this item was crucial. Once the sacred flame crystal was merged, Mu Yingying would have no hope of survival. For sacred flames. Incredible. For sacred flames. It seems the master of ferocious souls has misjudged. Watching Xiao Yan in such an overwhelming form, Feng Hao's body was covered by mysterious silver patterns. As these appeared, the Thunder Giant Web and Thunder Giant Claws surrounding him subtly changed, clearly indicating that Xiao Yan, with 4 sacred flames, had exerted a tremendous pressure on Feng Hao. What is this guy trying to do? The hundreds of elites surrounding the desert's heart below felt a chill in their hearts. They knew that with 4 sacred flames and even temporarily having the strength of an early 8-star Do Xian, Xiao Yan possessed enough power to annihilate them all. At this moment, Xiao Yan was like the ruler of the heavens and earth, the very sky losing color. If the 4 sacred flames were unleashed, even the divine might would be overwhelming and unmatched. He's gone mad. Mad. What's happening in this world? Seeing Xiao Yan, surrounded by 4 colored flames, high in the sky, Feng Hao couldn't help but roar in frustration. As Feng Hao's roar echoed, Xiao Yan moved. The flame mantra within his body started to operate at high speed, and a trace of specially refined Do Qi, through the flame mantra, surged forth and continuously poured into the 4 sacred flames. Wum wum. Sensing the pulling force from Xiao Yan, the 4 sacred flames reacted, rapidly shaking, and their immense fiery power erupted outward. In an instant, the void in the desert's heart collapsed. It seemed as though the space would shatter completely at any moment. Previously, a battle at the half-reincarnation level hadn't shattered this space, but now, Xiao Yan's 4 sacred flames caused such a violent disturbance indicating that the power Xiao Yin was unleashing could threaten the very fabric of this space. Merge. Without hesitation, Xiao Yan's eyes filled with a madness that seemed willing to face death. He tightly clenched his two palms. No way. This kid is so ruthless. The black fiend dragon wolf, who had been entangled with the two 8-star Do Xian from afar, felt its smile freeze. Even deep within its soul, an intense sense of unease surged. Sacred flame fusion. The black fiend dragon wolf clearly remembered that only the Holy King in the entire Great Thousand Worlds had ever used such a method, and this had never changed from ancient times to the present. Could this guy be the Holy King's successor? It seems the master of ferocious souls has provoked something they can't afford to mess with. Holy King's successor, descendant of the Xiao clan. Not to mention, the relationship between the Holy King and the Xiao clan is even closer. Heh. With the fusion of the 4 sacred flames, the outcome of the battle between Xiao Yin and Feng Hao is already clear, as long as the fusion was successful. Of course, this was assuming the sacred flames fused properly. Now that the sacred flames were merging, both the sacred flame power and the sacred flame crystals were fusing at the same time. The difficulty and the explosive power that emerged were far stronger than any previous attempts. Glug glug. 3 of the 4 sacred flames, aside from Mu Yingying's fire crystal, had been completely refined by Xiao Yin. They had become dazzling flames that Xiao Yin could control at will. However, they had now been infused with Mu Yingying's original fire essence, making their power incredibly potent. At this very moment, under Xiao Yan's control, the 4 flames slowly began to merge. The most primal, violent aura and the raging fire power within them surged outward. The sacred flames were the most powerful sacred objects in the world, and their pride would never allow them to be merged by someone else. Just as the 4 fiery spheres were about to come together under Xiao Yan's control, thunderous sounds erupted from around him. Suddenly, countless blood-red scars appeared on Xiao Yan's skin, and in an instant, he was severely injured by the 4 sacred flames, his flesh torn open and blood slowly dripping. It was a miserable sight. Whoosh whoosh. It seemed as though Xiao Yan's body could no longer withstand the assault. From the black-patterned sacred robe, black liquid dripped off and adhered to Xiao Yan's wounded skin, alleviating the pressure on him. Dragon God Transformation. Enduring the excruciating pain, Xiao Yin activated the Dragon God Transformation once again. Only then did the situation improve slightly. Without the enhancement of Dragon God Transformation and the protection of the black-patterned sacred robe, Xiao Yin would have likely been torn apart by the 4 sacred flames. Truly a madman without compare. No wonder even the master of ferocious souls is wary of you. However, I am curious to see how you control these 4 sacred flames, let alone merging them. At this moment, with thunder crackling in the air, Feng Hao no longer had the urge to eliminate Xiao Yin. He understood the terrifying power of the sacred flames and had never seen a being at the Holy King level, nor witnessed the fusion of sacred flames. His pride, as a mid-8-star Do Xian, led him to want to see how Xiao Yin would bring about his own downfall. Once Xiao Yin was completely destroyed, there would be no one here who could contest him. For sacred flames, how could Feng Hao let such an opportunity slip by? Once he controlled the 4 sacred flames, not only would the ferocious soul domain be powerless against him, but even the entire ghost realm would be unable to stop him. At that time, he would be able to reach the heart of the ghost realm and become the supreme ruler, enjoying a life of unparalleled power. But it was this arrogance and greed, rooted in the mindset of an upper-tier ruler, that ultimately sealed his doom. Roar! Fierce flames rapidly spun around Xiao Yin, dividing the space around him into 4 sections, with each flame fiercely resisting the others, creating a standoff. However, Xiao Yin knew that the power contained within the 4 sacred flames was overwhelming. Drawing them together or even attempting to fuse such destructive forces came at a cost. He needed sufficient Do Qi to support it. If his Do Qi was depleted before the flames fused, Xiao Yin would be doomed. Even with his strength, he could only bring about his own destruction. After all, merging sacred flames was like playing with fire on a razor's edge, extremely dangerous. But if successful, Even someone as strong as Feng Hao would be obliterated by such power. With a tight grip on his palms, Xiao Yin fought to neutralize and calm the violent flames. Despite the searing pain that burned his body, his skin, and even his soul, there was no sign of him retreating. Buzz buzz. Finally, under Xiao Yin's desperate struggle, the azure flame became the first to quiet down. Soon, a beautiful melody spread from the blue flame, like a heavenly sound, soothing and captivating. Ying. Xiao Yin smiled bitterly, well aware that this was Mu Ying's doing. Yet, he wasn't going to let this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity slip away. In that moment, the Do Qi refined by the flame mantra surged out of him like a tidal wave, easily enveloping the four sacred flames. Additionally, the soothing effect of the melody from the azure flame began to calm the violent flames. Gradually, the sacred flames quieted down, and at the same time, an enormous and terrifying power began to form. Glug! In the blink of an eye, Feng Hao, who had once looked down on Xiao Yin and thought he would perish in his attempt to fuse the sacred flames, swallowed hard. His pupils constricted as a wave of deathly energy spread through his mind. Four-colored fire lotus appear. As the four-colored sacred flame fire settled down, Xiao Yan's lips curled into a manic grin. He slammed his palm down, and in an instant, the four fiery spheres, each with its distinct color, rapidly shrank. Under Feng Hao's astonished gaze, they slowly formed into a small amber-colored lotus the size of a palm. At the same time, within Xiao Yan's Do Qi Si, all but one of the sacred flame crystals shattered. The remaining three broke into eerie lake-colored crystals, which slowly emerged. This new flame, formed from the fusion of the three sacred flames and Mu Ying's original fire, was a newly born sacred flame. However, Xiao Yin had no time to investigate it. Feng Hao, let me show you what it means to be the true master of sacred flames. This technique is called Buddha's Fury Reincarnation. Without further thought, Xiao Yin, disregarding his already severely injured body, summoned the last of his strength and instinctively, a frenzied light flickered in his blood-red eyes. He projected the exquisite amber lotus from his palm toward Feng Hao. The Buddha's Fury Reincarnation in its four-colored form was far more powerful than the Buddha's Fury Fire Lotus. Even someone as strong as Feng Hao, in the mid-8-star Do Xian realm, would be obliterated by the force of this technique. At this moment, Feng Hao felt the chill of death creeping up on him. Thunder Nether Soul Seal. Heavenly Soul Ghost Palm. Seeing the four-colored Buddha's Fury Reincarnation coming at him, Feng Hao finally showed a change in expression. He quickly unleashed all his abilities. A massive silver thunder net enveloped his body, pushing his energy to its peak. His thunderous claws and giant thunder palms, crackling with indescribable power, surged toward the four-colored Buddha's Fury Reincarnation. It's over. Xiao Yin gently projected the four-colored Buddha's Fury Reincarnation toward Feng Hao. He was like a deflated balloon, dropping from mid-air toward the desert below. Clearly, using such a high-level Do technique had drained all of his energy. The four-colored amber lotus, like a barely noticeable shooting star, cut through the sky, heading for Feng Hao. Along its path, it didn't stir any explosive energy ripples, but instead moved quietly, like a gentle breeze, fragile and unassuming. But it was this extremely unusual calmness that caused Feng Hao's attacks to melt away like ice in the sun. His hair stood on end as fear gripped his heart. The amber lotus contained a destructive force that could shatter the heavens, and at its center was a tiny, exquisite four-colored lotus seed, no larger than a dragon's eye. It was like the most outstanding piece of art left by the gods, waiting to bloom. Moments later, when the amber lotus was within a few dozen meters of Feng Hao, it suddenly dissipated, and the four-colored lotus seed slowly fell out. In Feng Hao's horrified gaze, it rapidly expanded, pulsing in and out like a magnificent firework reaching its peak before it erupted in full bloom. Boom! An uncontrollable explosion echoed through the sky above the desert's heart. This guy, even the light demon, who wore the sacred light armor, and the master of ferocious souls, engulfed by the lovesick flame domain, sensed the cataclysmic fluctuations from the outside world. They muttered in disbelief. The destructive energy ripple spread out like a tidal wave from Feng Hao, causing hundreds of desert cracks to appear out of nowhere. It was as if the heavens themselves were enraged and descending in divine wrath. Retreat. Such a terrifying foe. Realizing the magnitude of the situation, the remaining 3 mid-8-star Do Xian warriors immediately retreated, their Do Qi forming a massive protective cage around the hundreds of elite warriors behind them. No one could have anticipated that such a seemingly insignificant weakling could unleash such a brilliant wave of energy. As for whether Feng Hao lived or died, that was now uncertain. This guy is truly unpredictable. Xun'er and the Black Fiend Dragon Wolf both formed protective shields around themselves before retreating from the explosion's center. However, Xun'er spoke in surprise. This little guy will probably become a true overlord one day, the Black Fiend Dragon Wolf remarked with a grin. The scorching destructive energy continued for several minutes, and the desert, after Xiao Yan's attack, had transformed into a scene of devastation. The space seemed on the verge of collapsing completely. Where is Feng Hao? After a while, once the destructive forces had dissipated, Hua Xiao, the leader of the ferocious soul guards, couldn't help but ask. Although Feng Hao had committed many atrocities, as the master of the Western Divine Palace, he absolutely couldn't allow Xiao Yin to completely obliterate him. If word got out, it would be a huge blow to the master of ferocious souls. Reporting to the master, the Hall Master turned to ashes. Upon hearing this, several hundred elite warriors trembled, none daring to speak. After a moment, a seemingly slim, ferocious soul guard shakily spoke. He was responsible for searching for Feng Hao's figure at the explosion site. Thud. With a sudden grip, Hua Xiao's hand clenched, instantly crushing the ferocious soul guard, leaving not even a trace of his soul behind. Those who sow discord in the army shall be killed without mercy. Hua Xiao's cold voice echoed in the ears of the several hundred elites behind him. Unbelievable. Feng Hao, the Hall Master of the Western Divine Palace in the ferocious soul domain, with mid-8-star Do Xian strength and silver patterns on his body, was comparable to a late 8-star Do Xian expert. Such a true powerhouse of the ferocious soul domain had fallen under Xiao Yan's 4-color Buddha's fury reincarnation, not only dead, but also turned to ashes, with even his soul completely obliterated. Even if an angel descended and performed a resurrection spell, the chances of revival were extremely slim. Clearly, this person had truly perished. Cough, cough. Looking at the enraged Hua Xiao, Xiao Yin lay quietly in the desert's heart, gazing at the scattered remains and the residual sacred flame still burning. Xiao Yin smiled with satisfaction. It worked. By merging the 3 strongest powers of sacred flame, combined with the 4-color Buddha's fury reincarnation born from Mu Yingying's origin, its power was enough to fight beyond the current level. Though I didn't use Mu Yingying's full power, I did it to preserve the chance of revival, but now, this is enough. Little brat. You, being the top target on the Ghost Realm's wanted list, actually eradicated my Divine Hall Master. In the name of Hua Xiao, the leader of the ferocious soul guards, I will ensure you remain here forever. Die. Seeing Xiao Yin in such a weakened state, Hua Xiao waved his hand, and a terrifying, sharp spatial blade formed a lethal point, roaring toward Xiao Yin. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's last bit of strength surged again. Despite his pale face, he would never allow himself to be captured. Not good. Seeing Hua Xiao's distorted attack, Black Fiend Dragon Wolf and Xun'er both shouted and rushed to assist, only to be temporarily entangled by the ferocious soul guards. At this moment, Xiao Yin was completely isolated. Little brat, to have caused such chaos in my ferocious soul domain. You are worthy of being from the Xiao clan, but today, you shall remain here forever. Looking at Xiao Yin, whom he could erase with a single motion, Hua Xiao laughed. Heh, little junior. Since when did a bunch of weaklings have the right to teach me a lesson? Just as the deadly spatial blade was about to tear Xiao Yan's throat, an enchanting laugh, capable of making all things shudder, spread with an undeniable, overwhelming divine power. Everyone turned their heads to look, only to see a silver spatial gate fully revealed in the sky above the desert. A graceful figure appeared in the gate, her gentle, jade-like eyes holding boundless solemnity and a cold, killing intent. Soul-devouring domain. Xun'er. At this moment, Hua Xiao's face turned dark and sinister. Little Junior, you did well. Now, leave the rest to your senior sister. Xun'er raised her jade hand, sending a torrent of pure do qi into Xiao Yan's body, warming his meridians and body, a wave of warmth flowing through him. Senior sister, he's very strong, and this place is a trap in itself. Be careful. Xiao Yan nodded quietly, trying to recover his do qi. The dark sacred robe on his back slowly faded, and even Xiao Yan's inner Xiao Xinsheng noticed something mysterious. At this moment, Xun'er, accompanied by the top brass of the soul-devouring domain, arrived. The broken desert heart, the light demon, the ferocious soul domain's elite ferocious soul guards, and the black fiend dragon wolf and Xun'er, all entered the fray, and the true battle had begun. Damned! 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 Seeing how Xun'er's jade ring surged with power, and the spatial gate opening again behind her, strong, overpowering auras began to emerge. Hua Xiao could not help but scowl. What was supposed to be a perfect trap for targeting Xiao Yan had unexpectedly brought so many variables. Not to mention the appearance of the light demon, the origins of the black fiend dragon wolf were unclear, and even Xiao Yan's clan power had awakened. In the end, with the power of sacred flame, Feng Hao was completely obliterated. And now, with the arrival of the soul-devouring domain's top experts, this no longer seemed like a scheme set by the ferocious soul domain's master. It felt more like revenge. Revenge from the soul-devouring domain against the ferocious soul domain. Hua Xiao, it's been a long time. I've missed you. Leader of the ferocious soul guards. Each word caused Hua Xiao's heart to darken as he recognized those speaking. These were people he was very familiar with, true experts from the soul-devouring domain. Tian, Bai Zhe, Heavenly Soul Protector, Earthly Soul Protector, the highest ruler of the soul-devouring domain, the master of ferocious souls, was accompanied by 4 protectors, each possessing the strength of mid-8-star Do Xian, along with Bai Zhe and Tian, 2 early 8-star Do Xian experts. Together, they formed a formidable force of 5 8-star Do Xian. Among them, Xun'er's strength reached the rare level of perfect 8-star Do Xian. With such a lineup, they could surely assert dominance anywhere in the ghost realm. At this point, the trend of the ferocious soul domain is doomed. Hua Xiao, lead your people to surrender. Xun'er stood gracefully, resembling a serene woman. However, the overwhelming aura surrounding her was unmistakably that of a true sovereign, suffused with an icy killing intent that was impossible to ignore. Ha ha ha. A joke. How could I, the head of the ferocious soul guards, possibly fear a mere proxy domain lord? I, Hua Xiao, am officially taking over the Western Divine Palace. Charge. Kill anyone who retreats without mercy. A roar echoed, warping the space around them. Boom. The two sides engaged in fierce combat, but the few hundred ferocious soul guards stood no chance against the dozens led by Xun'er. The disparity in top-tier combat strength was simply too great. In the ferocious soul domain, only 3 individuals, including Hua Xiao, had the power of 8-star Do Xian, making the situation unequal against the soul-devouring domain. Xiao Yan and his companions waited quietly in the desert, treated with respect by the strong of the soul-devouring domain. On the sandy surface, under the gaze of countless onlookers, 2 shadowy figures stood silently. Perfect 8-star Do Xian. Hua Xiao clenched his fists tightly, a hint of self-mockery flashing in his eyes as he stared intently at Xun'er. The battle below was already chaotic, with only himself and his 2 8-star Do Xian retainers maintaining any semblance of order. If we had eliminated your soul-devouring domain entirely at the beginning, we would not be facing today's disaster. Hua Xiao's armor transformed into a bronze hue as a vast wave of Do Qi surged forth. In that case, our soul-devouring domain would have been locked in a fight to the death with you. Xun'er smiled slightly, her expression hiding endless killing intent without any pretense. Wind's rhythm. Wind Prison Spirit Temple. Observing Xun'er's stance, Hua Xiao felt no hesitation. He raised his palm suddenly, his expression growing serious. His hand trembled rapidly as uncontrollable gusts formed around him, his blue do qi coalescing into a dark shadow that charged toward Xun'er with overwhelming momentum. It appeared Hua Xiao was attempting to ambush Xun'er. Queen, the guardians supporting Xiao and the powerful figures of the soul-devouring domain, who had already slain many ferocious soul guards, watched the sudden scene in the sky, their pupils contracting in shock. Crack! Just as Hua Xiao was about to make contact with Xun'er, the space around her shattered like a mirror, causing all his attacks to vanish without a trace alongside the broken reflection. Even if you are as powerful as a perfect 8-star Do Xian, today, you are still doomed. Failing to land a blow, Hua Xiao lost the will to continue fighting, suddenly laughing foolishly. This guy has gone mad. Bai Zhe, Shirtian, and the earthly soul protector, 4 8-star Do Xian, gradually appeared beside Xun'er, with Bai Zhe speaking first. The gap between mid and perfect 8-star Do Xian was too vast. Throughout the fight, the queen hadn't even used any offensive moves. Capture him. Join forces to break the domain barrier of the master of ferocious souls. Ignoring the demoralized Hua Xiao, Xun'er showed no concern. Ha ha ha. Our lord is truly clairvoyant. How could you insignificant ones mess up our carefully laid plans? Hua Xiao's expression became eerily calm without any resistance. Queen. Observing Hua Xiao and the 2 accompanying 8-star Do Xian quiet down, the 4 figures turned their gazes toward Xun'er simultaneously. Do you have any other tricks up your sleeve? Show them. Glancing at the 3, Xun'er spoke softly, seemingly unwilling to waste too much time on them. After a brief pause, her attention returned to the light demon executing the forbidden technique and the master of ferocious souls enveloped in a pink space. Those 2 were the primary focus now. With my soul, I offer a sacrifice to the heavens. After the brief moment, the 2 8-star Do Xian exchanged glances, then pressed their palms together, a strange wave suddenly radiating from them. In the next moment, their bodies transformed into a mist of blood, slowly dispersing in the void of the desert. Just as the 2 8-star Do Xian self-destructed, Xun'er's beautiful brows slightly lifted as if sensing something. The jade ring in her hand began to surge, attempting to absorb the blood mist produced by their sacrifice. Sigh. It was a miscalculation. Xun'er sighed helplessly as her dark eyes gradually wavered. She cast a glance toward the desert sky, which was obscured by the yellow sand. In that instant, as the 2 powerful figures' blood mist touched the sky, the entire desert trembled violently. An overwhelming and irresistible aura slowly spread out, quickly filling the entire desert. What is this? This scene was naturally noticed by countless strong individuals. Immediately, whether from the soul-devouring domain or ferocious soul domain, everyone halted their attacks, their eyes fixed blankly on the sky. Boom! When the 2 blood mists reached the top of the desert sky, a mysterious rune, entirely drawn from pitch-black blood, suddenly emerged and instantly devoured the 2 blood mists. Suddenly, a black light pattern appeared from the desert's summit, spreading at a visible speed. At this moment, the entire desert trembled, and even on the desert floor, black light patterns identical to those in the sky began to appear. Endlessly, these black light patterns surrounded the entire desert, gradually forming an ancient formation, completely enveloping and imprisoning the area. 5-point blood soul formation. Master, this is your path of reincarnation. Hua Xiao smiled lightly and casually waved his hand, instantly crushing the remaining surviving ferocious soul domain warriors, turning them into streams of blood mist that were cast into the black light patterns. With so many powerful individuals contributing, the formation began to emanate an aura of desolation, one that seemed to originate from the ancient past. That was the fluctuation of God-slaughtering power. How is this possible? Seeing such a bloodthirsty and evil ancient formation, Bai Zhe and Shirtian's expressions turned incredibly grim. Even the heavenly soul and earthly soul protectors, both of whom were highly skilled, were filled with disbelief. the master of ferocious souls had already set up numerous schemes, even going so far as to transform the energy-rich land of the desert into an ancient formation, all to pave the way for his path of reincarnation. Such an evil formation, capable of devouring the power of dozens of 8-star Do-Xian experts, along with the elite forces of the soul-devouring domain and ferocious soul domain, combined with the power of the lovesick flame. Completing the path of reincarnation was a matter of course. The so-called 5-point blood soul formation could absorb the blood essence of countless powerful individuals and turn it into nourishment, further supporting the path of reincarnation. No wonder that guy was so confident. Xiao Yin sighed wryly, clearly realizing that the situation had already surpassed his ability to control. From Xiao Yan's perception, the 5-point blood soul formation's power was likely no weaker than the forbidden art of the light demon, and with their collective strength, they wouldn't be able to break free. It seemed this time was truly a deadlock. Sigh. Looking at this scene, Xun'er also shook her head helplessly. Xun'er, I have a question. After a moment, Xiao Yan's Do Qi had barely recovered, and he stood up, his gaze serious as he addressed Xun'er. I know what you're going to ask, but I don't know the answer either. And I can tell you the worry in your heart. You're probably aware that the master of ferocious souls, who was severely injured after devouring the lovesick flame, was able to fight to a standstill with the protective force inside you. Xun'er spoke, no longer hiding the truth from Xiao Yin now that things had come to this point. Right. Xiao Yin nodded lightly, and he had a strange feeling that something wasn't quite right here. The master of ferocious souls, being a soul entity, has been completely corrupted by some mysterious power, which prevents him from reforming his body into a human. Our Soul Academy's research uses special methods and materials to create a liquid for soaking and absorbing, which can help undo his peculiar constitution. This special liquid must be infused with the power of sacred flame. Even after soaking, it causes heavy injuries. However, this so-called injury doesn't refer to physical strength or soul power, but merely a weakness in aura. His actual strength remains unaffected. Moreover, the master of ferocious soul's power has likely already touched upon reincarnation. When he emerged from his seclusion, after being soaked in the liquid, he only showed weakness. As for his feeble aura, that was probably deliberate. By solving his peculiar constitution, along with the power of lovesick flame and everyone here, his goal is likely not just reincarnation, but a higher level of reincarnation. And the last method we have is to use the sacred flame to backfire against him. Unfortunately, the lovesick flame has been so well protected by him that I never had a chance. A heavy tone filled Xun'er's voice, as she had pieced everything together by now. Damn it! At this moment, Xiao Yin couldn't help but roar in frustration, his voice filled with powerlessness. Ha ha ha. Everyone, quietly await your doom. Under the blood soul formation, the path of reincarnation, today's events have been foretold by our Lord. Assist my Lord in achieving reincarnation. As soon as the words fell, led by Hua Xiao, the remaining experts from the ferocious soul domain all trembled. A moment later, they self-destructed. The explosion released a powerful force that transformed into waves of eerie, blood-colored mist, which flickered and was absorbed into the pentagram blood soul formation. In an instant, the black-patterned evil array enveloping the heart of the desert began to churn with surging blood mist. The overwhelming momentum it generated left one gasping for breath. Queen, what should we do now? Seeing the sudden turn of events, the four advisors beside Xun'er could not help but ask. Attack! Tear this evil array apart. After a brief pause, a rare determination appeared in Xun'er's beautiful eyes. She swung her hand casually, and the surrounding space began to warp drastically. A heavy sense of collapse filled the air. Sky-devouring colossus. White nether palm. Fire of the heavenly soul. Water of the earthly soul. Space prism. Dimension annihilation. In an instant, 5 8-star Do-Xian experts released a torrent of Do-Chi that shot out like a rainbow, culminating in 5 colossal energy beams, each powerful enough to tear the heavens and earth, striking the black-patterned evil array. Boom! The 5 destructive light columns crashed into the black-patterned evil array, causing the entire desert to tremble, as if the heavens themselves were angry. Each tremor filled the souls of those within the evil array with dread. After several breaths, the 5 light beams slowly faded, and the immense energy shockingly did not tear a single corner of the array. Instead, it was absorbed by the evil formation. Glug, glug. At the same time, the black-patterned evil array began to shake. Its entire structure resembled a massive pentagram, and after absorbing the 5 world-destroying energy waves, it suddenly broke free from the desert and shot into the air. At the 5 corners of the pentagram blood-soul formation, countless ominous blood mists swirled and surged. They howled, they roared, they trembled with fear. As the pentagram blood-soul formation ascended, the blood mist at the 5 corners surged toward the central prison of the array. Strangely, the center of the formation seemed to overlap perfectly with the pink space where the master of ferocious souls had disappeared. In that moment, countless blood mists poured into the pink space, paving the way for the master of ferocious souls' reincarnation. This guy. Watching this scene, Xiao Yan's heart grew unusually heavy. Only now did Xiao Yan truly understand the reputation of the master of ferocious souls. This person had clearly anticipated all the worst outcomes, even going so far as to sacrifice the entire Western Divine Palace and all the ferocious soul guards as blood offerings, all to pave the way for his reincarnation. After reaching perfect 8-star Docian, reincarnation was the next step. Once entering reincarnation, it would split into 9 stages, and only after completing all 9 could one reach the highest divine seat. Judging by the current situation, the master of ferocious souls clearly wasn't just trying to break through to reincarnation. He was aiming to use the pentagram blood soul formation to formally enter the first stage of reincarnation. This guy, with the heart of a beast and the face of a man, must be eradicated by all. Is this the apocalypse? Watching as the blood mist at the 5 corners of the pentagram blood soul formation surged toward the center where the master of ferocious souls' prison lay, countless powerful figures sensed an overwhelming, visible energy fluctuation rapidly rising. It wouldn't be long before a true supreme ruler would emerge from this place. Queen. Seeing the irresistible pentagram blood soul formation before her, the 4 advisors turned their gazes toward Xun'er, awaiting her orders. Even the dozens of elite warriors following her were now cold-eyed and resolute. No trace of retreat appeared in their pupils, only a surge of madness. After the ferocious soul domain was attacked by the master of ferocious souls, it had suffered tremendous losses. It was this woman who had restored the ferocious soul domain. Since they had decided to follow Xun'er, they had already cast aside their fears of life and death. You all leave. I will destroy this place. Xun'er closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again, letting out a long breath. Her voice carried an unshakable pride.